Hi,
Hello, Trace.
how you going?
I'm good. How about you?
Pretty good. You look pretty refreshed, actually.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. I have
that's
I
the
have I have a series of meetings. So today I have I meet with a group that's coming out of a cult,
yeah.
and I meet with newbies, and then at 2 o'clock I have another meeting. So it's a full day.
Uh, I don't
I
know how
can't
you
see
do
you.
it. You can't see me.
I can't see you. Just a moment.
Why is that? Oh, have I got it upside down? Oh no. Has asked you to start your video. Oh, okay.
There you go.
So many buttons.
Yeah. Yeah, I have those I love what I do, um which feels like not work at all. So
You would have to.
yeah, yeah. Especially when there's a lot of characters that are in the midst of their suffering, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, it's I used to, when I was a spiritual teacher, it used to be so heavy, right? Because I
yeah.
used to take it in, and process it and all that kind of stuff, right? Um but there's this emptiness that everything just comes and goes. So I don't relate to that density of the body anymore, so to speak, right? So of course that's just a story again, right? But that's just what seems to appear here. But how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a bit like, I don't know. I actually don't really I don't know. It's like I've forgotten everything. Seriously, I don't even know
Yeah.
why we're having this talk.
Yeah.
I forgot, Oh,
I think you had if I remember correctly, you had a moment where everything seemed heavy again, right?
ah,
All that doubts.
yeah,
That's what usually happens when there is like a session or something, right? Where nothing is when it doesn't really address the individual. So the individual, the me, whatever you might want to call it, tries to make a comeback in a kind of like it doesn't give up without a fight, so to speak, right? So it
mm,
creates all of these doubts, all of this stuff. But the clarity of that one is just that it's just another story. Kind of like how you see now. It's like you don't even remember it.
no, it's interesting. It was almost like a gift, although it was an absolutely awful like 24 hours.
Yeah.
But it was like it was like it was like a gift in that um, what felt intolerable
Yeah.
within 24 hours had lifted again. And I haven't actually felt strongly things like that in a long, long time.
Oh,
It was
wow.
so
Yeah.
unexpected. And it actually kicked in about 5 minutes after we got off the call. And it was everything. It was flamboyant in its
Wow.
excess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
pulled
was,
all
I was gobsmackingly so.
yeah. So it pulled out all the stops, so to speak, right? It went all out.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, look at that. Because, my mind's been very quiet for the past year.
Yeah.
It's been quite peaceful, quite level and but peaceful. And
Yeah.
suddenly it was anything but peaceful.
That's right. Yeah. 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 That's after our talk, right? So it reacted so hard, right? It was almost like an allergic reaction to the talk. It just kind of like,
Yeah. And no matter how many times I told myself this is just what is, because it was the ferocity of it was just so overwhelming that I kind of just
wow.
went with it. I just went with it. I
Yeah.
just went with, but I also realized, and part of me was going, 24 hours. I'm sure you'll feel differently about this. This will pass. This is just,
Yeah.
these were just thoughts manifesting in the body. Isn't it amazing how thoughts can manifest in the body as physical sensations? I was looking at that today because it was anxiety as well. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
look at that. It's like a burning, it actually feels like heat in the body. How does that? And for the first time, I thought, how is that happening? Is it actually heat? Is it actually doing anything to the body? Or is it purely just a thought? You know, are there chemicals that are happening? What the hell is going on? It's a, yeah, when it hits the body, it's hard. It's in your face.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, sensations and feelings arise, right? And the thought claims it as anxiety,
Mm,
as historical, as conditioning, as my feelings, as my lack or doubts, right? It tries to encapsulate it. It tries to label it as something that has something to do with you.
mm.
But when the feelings and sensations and all that endorphins and that sensations, right, are just as it is without a story. I don't know if you've seen it too in that height of intensity, that what seems to be contracted is also freeing.
Yeah. Well,
What's
what was very strange about it, because, you know, I spent 24 hours in bed. So as I was watching this and feeling it in my body, it was burning. I'm like, oh, I'm watching the heat. And then the most unexpected thing was then I felt like I had this extreme relaxation where I just felt like I was melding into the bed.
yeah.
It's like I was formless. It was the
Yeah.
most relaxed I've been in a very long time.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a, yeah. But
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I've had someone similar say that too, right? Like someone kind of like you've been watching a lot of the videos that this character puts out, right? She said, oh, you know what, Emerson, I think it's time, kind of like what you said in the last conversation. Your finger just dialed, like booked the session, and the session came. It was almost like a suicide attempt for the
yeah,
for the character.
I told you I started to murder the ego, which
That's
actually brought attention. The ego was very interested in that idea.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
think it has something to do with the ego, right? But when the ego was completely dismissed, really, right? And or the me or whatever, then there was this kind of like yeah, someone was telling me that it was very similar, right? Listening for a long time, maybe about 6 months, not a long time, and she was like had lightness and peace and all that kind of stuff like that. So she booked the session out of nowhere, and then she said that the following, like right after, right, she said this contraction that she's never felt before, right? And she almost went to the hospital, right? Because she was feeling this tightness and everything in her chest. But she said, and she's a marathon runner, right? So she's super healthy. She's like, it could it be? And then she I think she kept on breathing and breathing, and then one last breath, and then she said, oh my goodness, she's never felt like everything was tingling, basically, like everything was perfect and everything. She went to the hospital, not hospital, she went to the doctor the next day to get checked again. She goes, oh, you're fine and everything, your vitals are okay. But she said, it's gone. That contraction is gone. And that's probably what seemingly happened to you, right?
Mm,
It's like, it's always said that, like that you don't even know that there was this contraction until it's gone.
mm.
How do you feel now?
I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty. The mind wants to keep going, and oh, I better go and grasp onto some concept to figure out what's happening and how it is.
Yeah.
So that is happening. So it's kind of like a loop. But I just every now and again I just catch myself. It's funny. I feel like my body's almost like a vessel.
Yeah.
And I look at. I glanced at my hands. It was like, oh, I almost didn't identify them. Or I looked in the mirror as I'm cleaning my teeth, and for the first time, it was only like a fraction of a second, Emerson, like a glimpse of a glimpse like that. And I just went, oh, there's nobody there. And I saw that
Yeah.
just that long, and deep compassion for that came up.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was beautiful. So that was beautiful. Literally just little things like that.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a never ending free falling and unfolding, basically, right? So there's going to be moments that it seems so liquid and fluid and everything, right? And it seems, like it's almost like one time I was walking around and I nearly jumped out because I saw my reflection. I'm like, who is that? It
Yeah,
was me.
yeah. You should
It's
watch
almost
more of your videos. You'd recognize yourself.
it's mind-boggling that there's no mine and there's no me and there's no
Yeah.
self. It's so wild, right? But there's this isness here that it can't be comprehended. You know what I'm saying? It can't
Mm.
be captured, right? It's always here. And not as a feeling that it's here, but a a ground zero, meaning that everything that seems to appear is emanating from that, not as a source. It's even odd to talk about it, right? Because it's speaking, it's listening, it's breathing, it's agreeing, it's disagreeing, but it's none of those. It cannot be captured as an object or a subject. It cannot be captured as a someone or no one even.
See, I think, like you hear people talk about, having sort of visual, sort of trippy things happening and all that sort of stuff. I think, there's maybe that, you have some sort of anticipation that it'd be nice to see, because I've seen that in the past, had, during other things, Kundalini things and things like that, where the world is like, whoa, undoubtedly very different.
Yeah.
And, you know, what this is feeling like is, yeah, it really is like just I feel like, yeah, I see the automation of the body and the
Yeah.
automation of the being. And that surprised me. I mean, I'm doing things around the kitchen. I'm like, yeah, you just do these things. You don't even think about them. They're just happening. Some, that is special in of itself. So, I think I understand now what you mean by if you have glimpses and experiences that that can be a kind of a curse in a way.
It is, yeah. It is,
Mm.
yeah. It is, yeah, because there's going to be kind of like a benchmark of an experience.
Yeah.
And that benchmark for an experience becomes a drug. It's kind of like an addict that gets its first high, right? And
Mm.
keeps on going for the next high, the next high, the next high. And
Mm.
of course, nothing compares to the first high. Um, but there's no first and there's no next high, right? This whole life is a high. If you
Mm.
look at it, right? It's alive. This is whole aliveness. And
It's good.
even if you're bored out of your numbnucks, see that I'm saying? It's alive. That's also aliveness.
Yeah. Well,
Whatever
I
seems
did
to appear.
the Course in Miracles, all those exercises of looking at objects and, um, I can't remember them because I was a very bad student. But there was a
You
lot
know
of,
what's funny? I was a good student. I did it for about 10 years. I think I did the I would, if I missed a day, if I missed a workshop, then like a, what do you call those again?
yeah,
An
the daily,
exercise,
yeah.
I would start all over again. That's how insane this character was, right? It was relentless. Like, okay, I have to start. So I made sure that I never missed any of those.
Yeah, because that might be the one. And yeah, it feels like a bit of a magical book. So I started it 10 years ago and got halfway through it, put it down for 10 years, picked it up again. And someone had said to me, oh, time doesn't exist, so you can just start where you finish. changed. But no, I went right back to the beginning.
Right back to the
And
beginning. Yeah.
halfway through again and put it down again.
Yeah.
But you know, those exercises looking at objects, I don't remember there was like,
Yeah. You know what? There's a lot of beauty in it too, you know, so I don't want to knock it
there is a lot
completely.
of beauty in it.
There's a lot of beauty in it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
It's
that
hard
got
sorry.
sorry.
I was just gonna say it's hard when if you've got a Christian background, that's a bit can be a bit jarring if it's something that you've put to the side, the Holy Spirit and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but I feel that it was there are really clear moments in it, right? But there's also a lot of stuff that's contradictory in it, which is okay. You know what I'm saying? You know, languaging is contradictory, and it's duplicitous, and that's okay, right? But
it was such hard work.
it was such hard work. Yeah.
And those daily exercises, they got longer every day.
So oh yeah, they did. Yes, yes. Remember the first couple of weeks, they're just like one sentence, and then now you're checking every 10 minutes, right? You know, like or every hour or something, right?
You wouldn't want to have a job or something.
No. No. And but it was sad I was doing that while working and everything. And while I was a spiritual teacher, I was still doing that actually. Because I thought that if I dropped it, then I would lose my enlightenment. I thought it was a part of it. And I was also doing my Om Namah Shivaya, you know, for my Eastern philosophy. I was doing the yamas and the niyamas. I was being aware and conscious and all that kind of stuff. I was focusing on the seat of the consciousness, all that kind of stuff. I had so much practice. My whole life was such a practice that it was just a control freak kind of like practice. I was trying to control everything. I just didn't know how to breathe anymore. So I also did breath work. And yoga, you know, everything, right? So it's like and I would get angry if somebody kind of like, you know, interrupted my practice. I'm trying to do my practice now. My sadhana, my, you know, whatever, right? And of course, you know, like I would, after that, it was just like a whole life dedicated to, luckily had a good job in my 20s that supported some of this and, you know, left my corporate world, so to speak, right, to be able to, but I sold my house so I could do all of this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. Seekers come into a very vulnerable place where they want to, you know, do everything and give up everything. Although it's hopeless, seeking is hopeless. There's a tendency to say, oh yeah, I can do it. You know, there's this.
Because it carries an assumption of some sort of magical thinking in the seeker, right? So most seekers
it's some magical thinking. Yeah, exactly. I was so caught up in my magical thinking that yeah, I don't even know. It's so weird now looking back, right? It's all stories, but it's always been it as well. That's also it. That's also it. That's also it. But somehow there was a counter reaction to it, saying, this is not it. This is not it. This is not it, which is the character. It's always looking for the next, because if this is it is figured out not by the character, then the character dissolves in the it. There's no me in the it, in the unfathomable, in the ineffable, and whatever. There's no identity, no individual. So it keeps on going to the next to avoid getting caught that it's not real. It's like the Wizard of Oz jumping town to town, right? So that no, it's like a criminal, you know what I'm saying, hiding. And it doesn't want to give up, right? It just doesn't want to give up. It keeps on.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I know.
And I like what you wrote. I think I can't remember it, but you said that there was an imposter syndrome.
Yeah, well, just a sense of being a fraud. But then I saw, the only fraudulent thing going on here, that there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, that or that these things are happening and I wish they didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because there was someone to wish they didn't happen. I can't remember. But yeah, basically, yeah. I can't remember. That was years ago.
Yeah. And what a difference from our last conversation to this conversation, which was just a few days ago, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was so anxious and so
You
stressed,
were.
and so I don't like talking about the past. I don't hardly ever think about the past. So I thought, oh, I've got to go back. I can't even remember these things. So pulling out the past and just anxiety, I think too, and yeah, I've never done anything like this before, so
Yeah.
I've never even done a Zoom call before.
I know.
So.
Yeah, you were a bunch of nerves.
I think, you have a way. I've seen you with other people too, where you see people relax in your presence. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's my hats.
I can imagine that. They're pretty good. How's
But
your
yeah.
mum go? Is she
Oh,
okay?
she's okay and not okay, right? She's her mobility issues are not good. Um, so we try to take her, she um we tried to take her to a spa, and her feet goes sideways now. It doesn't go that way now. So it she can't even climb, a couple of steps. So we had to cancel it. And she really wanted like a massage and a facial, like a treat, basically, right? So she can't even do that, right? So but we're trying our best, like she has some um PSW, which is personal support workers that come in to bathe
Oh,
her.
great. That's
And
what I was wondering. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. You got some support there. That's
so we have some support. Yeah. In the
yeah.
beginning, it was all us, right? My dad and me and everything. But as I got busier with work and everything, we had to arrange some stuff, which is hard to arrange in the beginning. But when it all goes into a schedule, so to speak, right? So
Yeah.
and I just make her laugh. That's all I can do, right? So
Yeah.
she gets gloom and doom sometimes, and I'll say something that will just purposely to just tickle her, like I'll say a word from our language that I can't pronounce, and it makes her giggle and everything. Or sometimes she complains about my dad, and um because imagine they've
Fair
been
game.
married for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, what if he doesn't want to take care of me anymore? And I'm like, well, mom, we can move to Montreal and we can put up on a dating app. You can get a new husband.
Divorce his ass. Yeah.
Of course, that makes her laugh, right? I said, we'll get one with infinite patience,
Special delivery.
Yeah. I said, well,
So
even
is
get a movie star for you. Let's get a movie star for you. It's like, oh, which one? Yeah, we just get into a lot of laugh. It's she knows that she can vent to me and I'll listen to it. And at the end, I'll turn it into a joke or something, and it makes her laugh. Yeah. It's good to rediscover my mom in fresh eyes.
yeah.
Not as my mother, not as, just as love, basically, as
Mm.
as it, basically. And it's yeah, no
You
more
have to be.
heaviness, because before I was so guilty, right? I was so guilt, and because I could not be there for her, because when I was a kid, I would say something like, I'll take care of you, mom. But of course, I was in a spiritual teacher position, right? I could not leave my community, and she really needed some help, right? So, when you have 4 brain surgeries,
Yeah.
like little stuff like making, she loves London fog, so I make her London fog, latte.
London.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
Earl Grey and some cream, right? And
Oh, yum.
boom, yeah, it's so good. And then she wants a massage every day. Little things, little
Yeah.
things. And it's so good to just take care of her, right? So So I can't travel as much, as other
Yeah.
speakers, but I don't mind. I was actually supposed to go where you are
Oh,
back,
really?
yeah, back last year. And unfortunately, the when the body's deteriorating, more care is given. And it would be hard to leave for like 3 months or 2 months, because you need to go for 2 months to go to Australia or New Zealand. Whereabouts are you again?
Australia. Yeah.
Australia, okay.
Melbourne.
Melbourne, okay.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to Brisbane and Auckland, and yeah, I had an invitation with some friends that are
Well,
really
maybe
great.
down the track.
Yeah, maybe next time, like later on.
We'll still be here.
Yeah, but I think, you know what, it's just what is, right? It's and it's also kind of like that. I don't really take this speaking so seriously. I love it, but I'm not caught up in it. Not
Mm.
caught up in trying to be a world traveler or something. It's just, who cares?
Yeah.
I got my mom here, saying it's beautiful. I got my doggy, right? So
Hello. You can't go and leave your dog. I haven't been anywhere because of my dogs. If I can't take them with me, they go
well, I
anywhere.
was planning to. I'm like, okay, will it be, such horrible? And then I was like, yeah, that's a long flight. But my dog before traveled everywhere with me. So my dog that passed away actually has, my brother was saying that he's been to more different places than I have been, because he travels a lot. Yeah. So there was a lot of
Yeah.
traveling. It's beautiful, just yeah. So the closest to me are, in the story anyway, the most important to me,
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty simple, really.
It's really simple. Yeah. I
Mm.
don't even crave, I have good friends from high school, you know what I'm saying, that or maybe longer than 30 years, that have stuck around, you know what I'm saying, that knows me inside and out,
Mm.
can tolerate all of this non-duality stuff. One of my friend, she follows me on Instagram. She screen chat captures some of my thing, goes, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, it doesn't, because what are you saying? And she makes fun of, she yeah, it's good to have friends that can make fun of you and call you out, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Seriously
It
grounding, that stuff.
Yeah, it is so grounding. um Rather than them being put in a pedestal, and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I do anyway. What I do is, with this one-on-ones, is kick out all of the structures,
Mm.
turn all the tables, blast all of the pedestals, so that there's just equanimity, so
Yeah.
that there's no,
And somehow you do that without encasing the person you're talking with in a metal box that they're just bashing their head against the wall.
yeah,
There's I don't know what it is. I don't really know why it's so different, but it is.
yeah.
It feels like that. Yeah.
I think because it's just, I see it for what it is already, right? I don't see any
Mm.
kind of less or more. When I say that, when I meet with one-on-one, I already see that it's already over. It's already finished. It's just mental
Yeah.
construct, really, that creates
Yeah.
this idea that it's not. And I just basically take away all of those residues and basically say, well, what are you without that thought? What are you without that? It's almost going
I
back
love,
into innocence. Yeah.
yeah. I
Going
love
back into
that stuff.
innocence. No need to inquire, or if inquiry happens, that's completely all right too. Right.
Mm.
Just really a sincere, clear talk that there's nothing to get. It's already the case. And usually people that get to the one-on-ones anyway I've been seeking. They know the drill, basically. Of They've heard all of it, or
Mm.
they're new into it, but the bug caught them and they can't shake it off. So there's a form of um, something that can happen. Um, but when there is just this directness and immediacy that all it's already here. There's nothing to get.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not
Because
coming from a place that I'm an authority, or that I know something, or I'm a gatekeeper, that I have something to give you. And I think that's the thing that is happening with a lot of teachers and speakers, is unbeknownst to them, their their
Yeah.
their their articulation, maybe their intelligence, or creates a barrier that there's someone special there, although they'll see that there's no one special here.
Well, you know that phrase, like, this is it, you know,
Yeah.
and a lot of people use this, you know, it's just this, right?
Yeah.
But how I had read it with others was it's just this. And it was like, I'm having this experience of it's just this for them.
Yeah.
Whereas you share the experience. It's weird. Strangely, that's how it feels to me. You
Yeah.
share the
Yeah. Yeah.
experience of
Yeah. In the
this is
story,
it.
I share it so that you know that it's also there.
Yeah.
That there's no separation really, and there's
Yeah.
no you to get it, because it's already here. And again, like I think I told you this the last time, that I just wish that somebody was there for me that was more relatable, that would get off the high horse of being a teacher or a speaker, and just be just a friend, just normal, um, immediate, honest, blunt. Because I would go into my magical thinking. I wish somebody would snap me out of it, right? Even if it was blunt. Or
Yeah.
basically someone that would hold my hand and say that, I know that there's no one there, but it's okay. There's already no one there, kind of thing. It's
But
not it's not a it's not a future
that
event.
and no, and the when you express that, I can't tell you that really, yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that very much. Even from your first email you sent out, it was like, it's already done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just
And
it'll
yeah. Yeah, because you know what, in the story, this could be a difficult process, or it could be just easy, but it's all different for every character, right? So I meet them where they're at. There are some characters that are completely in, like, I have I talk to people that are getting out of communities and cults and sanghas and stuff like that, right? Oh, I feel so bad for them. Oh my goodness, right? Because it's almost like their belief systems are rock solid, right? So it's like I'm chipping at it little by little, hoping that they can see that it's all made up. Their belief of their person that they put on a pedestal is all an idea. It's all a structure.
Because those people become like their family. It's
They
like
do, yeah.
loyalty, and that's pretty hard to break, I guess.
It is. And yeah, and then it's almost like getting kicked out of your home. And no matter how try to convince them that this is also home, you're never out of home. And that feeling that they got kicked out or emancipated, and it's hard, right? Especially people that they've given all their money to some of these communities. And it's everywhere now, it's rampant, right? Any belief system is a breeding ground for a cult, right? So for a you know, and then I have people that have been listening to 10 years, 20 years, and although they don't have a community, it feels like they were in a cult, because they're now stuck with belief systems. They're now stuck with like a passed on knowledge from someone that they think is an authority figure, that they think that is um got it or something. Not at fault with the speaker, but it becomes a cult mentality when there's a belief that is repeated over and over and over again. It becomes dogmatic and everything, right? So yeah, it's wild, this seeking thing. And I'm glad that I'm off my high horse now, that I can be face to face with characters that are going through some stuff without thinking that I am better or I'm helping them. I'm just here. I had empty space. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
That is.
Yeah. It's so calm now, huh? You know, that when that energy, that density contraction is gone, right? It's just like, oh, it's almost like a vacation now.
Yeah.
Before I was a neurotic, like it felt like I was a neurotic. What do you call those people that are apprentice that's like doing all of this work, hoping that it would get the job?
The sous chef.
That's right, the sous chef. Looking at the
Wildly shopping.
yeah, that's a good one, chef. But now, like I watched that show, The Bear. Have you seen that show, The Bear?
The bear.
It's about
No.
a chef and a sous chef and the madness in a kitchen and everything, right? It's beautiful. That chaos, it's wild, right? So I've never been I was a server back in my 20s, but I love the energy in the kitchen. I love the chemistry and everything, or a lack of chemistry sometimes, right? And
Yeah, the cranky chefs that throw
the
pans.
cranky chef, I've learned from the I love eating, right? So my purpose usually to work at a restaurant is not really usually for the tips. I go for the restaurants where I love the food, and I work as a server when I was in my 20s, so I could get free food from them,
Yeah,
right?
there's
So
always leftovers.
no, no, no. If you befriend the chef, if because I didn't really care about the tips that much, so I would give the kitchen a bulk of my tips, and they appreciated that. You share the tips with the kitchen, and most of the servers don't, right? So guess what happens? Every time that I come in, the chef makes me the best meal ever. Things that he's trying out, things that are not out there, right? It's just, he goes, "Hey, Emerson, we prepared this for you," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Um,
It should have been huge.
my love affair actually is with food. I love food so much, right? It's just something that I guess there's this seeker here. There's an artist, right, that loves life, but somehow got the disease of seeking or the neurosis of seeking, and then just closed everything off.
That's what I've done.
Mhm.
Closed everything off.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. But
The-
that's the other thing I love about you is, oh, you mean, oh, I can listen to music and I can, and eat nice food and it's okay to have pleasure. What a novel
yeah.
concept. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was a time when I was in that neurosis, right? That I I was barely eating because I thought that, you know, I was practicing the yamas and the niyamas and the Eastern philosophy from what was that? Patanjali. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's it's a realization through precepts, basically. It's kind of like if you do all of these things, then you will get enlightened, kind of thing, right? So there's
Oh, yeah. I've heard of things like that.
oh yeah. So and I was teaching it, right? So um I could not eat more than, and I was eating vegan. At one point, I was eating just dehydrated food for quite a while, raw vegan. And a foodie like me, imagine the suffering that I was going through, right? Because here I am eating kind of like dehydrated apple slices, and raw cashews and all kinds of tofu, you know what I'm saying? And I'm salivating over flavors, but also my practice was not to indulge in the sensory stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was all muted for me. I think I had to do that, um and I could not even drink, if I drank a glass of beer, if I remember one time I was drinking just one glass of beer and like a 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like with a friend of mine. And then someone said, "You should not be drinking beer in public, right? You have students." I'm like, oh yeah, right. That kind of thing. I'm like, oh wow. It was so, and I love dancing, right? So um, and let's just admit it, saying there's a party animal here as well that wants to let loose once in a while, right? And but I could not even do that. I love dancing, and because I would go dancing sometimes, and I would just drink water the whole night, and which is great. That's good too. But now I can do that. I don't really need that. But there was this repression, so much repression, so
Yeah.
much repression.
Deprival, especially when you were brought up Catholic.
Yes.
If I
Oh yeah.
understand it, if you brought up in those repressive religions, you'd think that once you got the shackles off, you wouldn't want to go back to repression.
But that's all we knew, right? Because
Yeah.
if that's what you learn.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of
Well,
like
we're
the way
doing
that
it in different clothes.
yeah, yeah,
Beads.
yeah.
Yeah.
With mala beads now, like instead of a rosary, I have mala beads now, which is also the same number of beads, by the way. Did you know that?
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
That must be special, a special number.
It's 108. See, and I was also into numbers before, and of course, I was convinced because my birthday is October 8th. I'm like, oh, I'm 108. I was born in 108. Of course, you convince yourself. And then I was born in 1971. I'm like, 1 plus 9 is 10 plus 7 plus 1 is 8. I'm like, actually, a numerologist told me that you're 108, you're double 108. And I was like, I must be something really special. It makes sense that I had this spiritual path. And you convince yourself of all of this, right? And
I glanced at the clock today. It was 11:11.
11:11. Yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, and then I noticed the little eye. It's like, oh, yeah, really? I mean, I don't actually believe it. I mean, I don't, it's not my thing, but I just noticed, oh, yeah. Isn't it funny how we pick up all these little superstitions, really?
It's all superstition. It's just all superstition, right? And of course, my dad was a very superstitious guy. So I thought I was beyond that, but I just believe my stuff in spirituality. Although I was pretty mostly clear-headed most of the time, but I was the neurosis, the psychosis of seeking, goes into magical thinking all of a sudden, right? That hey, maybe you know what, I should do this 108 mantras, right? To start my day. I should do like this, maybe this sun salutations or this breath work, and we'll clear all of this stuff, well, my chakras and all this kind of stuff, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with it, right? It might be good for the body, actually, like to do all of this stuff, but I was doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
I was doing it so I could transcend the body and become like super enlightened. It was a secret ambition to be God, basically. Secret ambition to be all powerful. So when I was humbled by this, I think I at one point I was just, tears just came out. I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? When everything just clears up as just this, all of that delusion, right? Just,
I was thinking today how many books I've got in my bookcase. I got rid of all my books except for my spiritual books. So now and so none of them, I won't read any of those books again. I'm not interested at all. So I will have empty bookcases.
yeah.
I
don't have any books, really. I don't have any physical books anymore, or I don't even have my Audible account. I started a new one, and guess what I like listening to now? Fiction.
Right.
I like science fiction now, and
I love science fiction.
So good, so good. I'm reading the Dune series.
God, I could never get through it. I don't know what it is about that series. It was like The Matrix. I tried to watch The Matrix many times. I kept falling asleep. I don't know why. Over the years, the fifth time I got to the end, and I was thinking today, what was The Matrix? I can't even remember.
The best thing to do is get the most long, kind of like boring. Dune's kind of boring at times, right? Yeah. And go for a run, because it's slow and then you're running. So it's somehow like it balances it out. I don't know what it is, right?
Yeah. Just enough done.
there's this, because you're running, right? And there's this like slow narration. Because and it evens out my running a bit so I can run longer. When I run with like techno music and progressive house or bass house, after like 45 minutes, I'm like panting. I'm like, okay, that's it. I can't do anymore. But when I have that, it's like a marathon with the audiobook. Or sometimes, what I love is just I put on those AirPods, and then I put the transparent mode so you hear everything clearly around you. And it's such a beautiful soundtrack. Yeah.
Is that what they have? That's interesting.
You have transparency. Yeah. So it kind of like amplifies your background noise. And
the
that's
ambient
because
sound.
the ambient sound. Yeah. And it's beautiful actually. Because at one point I was running and my music ended and I was like, oh, it's actually really nice, right? It's just like it's just running. But sometimes I do like, like the drum and bass. And if you've listened to drum and bass before, it's like so fast, right? And after you eat a buffet,
does itself.
What's that?
Sorry, I just said the running does itself.
It does, especially when I eat like a like a Thai food buffet from the night before. People always comment, they're like, how can you eat that much? I'm like, I love to eat, right? It's just something that, yeah, I'm going again. Instead of going to kind of like having meetings in my hometown, guess what I do every other weekend? I go with some of the people that I do meetings with before. We just go out to eat now.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I don't like that idea that there is, like in my hometown, I'm this guru, teacher, speaker, or whatever. It's okay too. But I like the openness of just friendship, so that there's no one above, there's no one below, and no special treatment.
Keep kicking those pedestals.
Yeah. Well, I was in one before, and that was such a horrific place to be.
Yeah.
I would never want to go back into that.
So, congratulations, by the way. I see you ticked over 60K in users.
Oh, thank you.
What do you call? Yeah. Momentous. Speaking of pedestal.
Well, it's really nothing to be honest, right? It's the same.
It jumped up quickly. I don't know if
I think because it's the real, like people, I don't know. Well, there's there's someone that shares it that has a lot of followers.
Oh, great.
Yeah, someone is likes the videos, basically shares it with their followers, which is massive, right? So that's what the uptick was, right? So I'm doing a one-on-one with someone that has a wide audience. Let's just say that.
Is it Oprah?
No. It's an artist.
Okay.
It's an artist, musician.
Although, hey, yeah. I was going to ask
a couple
you,
of them actually. There's a few of them now. Yeah. So one artist mentioned me to another artist. I can't say the names because of an non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, that's right. Got to get those NDAs.
Yeah. But it's funny, right? Because some of these artists are seeking for a long time. They've been seeking, and they reach the top of their game, like at the top of their, some of it's wild. But there's something lacking. There's always, so it's funny, right? People will be like, if I got to be rich and famous, I would have it all. I've talked to some rich and famous. I remember
years ago, Janet Jackson saying something like that about the most devastating thing for her was when she had everything and she was so unhappy.
Oh yeah.
She had money and everything.
Yeah. It's, but I'm no, I don't get starstruck anymore because maybe about 15, 20 years ago, I can't remember, I hung out with one of the biggest superstars from my country, from the Philippines. Right. She loved me because it's hard for her to trust people. So somehow she trusted right away. And and she meets tons and tons. It's like the equivalent of like Elvis and the Beatles combined together in my country anyway, in the Philippines. and she was going through some stuff, and I guess the character has always been very I guess compassionate and kind. I guess you can say that. Yeah, have good parents
I could imagine that.
that gets irritated with each other quite quickly now after 50 years, but there's the loving, they're still beautiful. It's just probably the caretaker kind of like fatigue probably from my dad, right? So, but yeah, so even the people that you think that have it all, there's still a lack when there is a maintenance of that character that you think is the um the focus, the focal point. When the
Sure.
focal point, which is the me, the character, whatever, disintegrates and it just melts into everything basically, then there's just this easiness. You know what I'm saying? There's just this.
And what is it that if there's no experience, what is it that enjoys the food, enjoys the running, enjoy
The running, yeah. It just happens. It's just weird, right? Because there's just this. It's almost like all of the the filters of this character is out. So it's really authentic now. So it does what it does to do.
Yeah.
There's no more kind of like, oh, you know what? I should not be running. I should be doing yoga and meditation instead. I love running. Or I should not be eating that much food because you know what, of gluttony or that kind of stuff. So there's just this authenticity of this character that is it's just an unfolding of authenticity, and it doesn't care about any restrictions anymore, right? Like, for example, someone will say that, well, a radical non-duality speaker should not be talking about stories. That's why I don't like any more labels, because there's a lot of box now. There's this kind of like, and and the expression also, and I think one of the thing that someone was saying, a few people actually are saying that somewhat what this character is doing with the videos is that it's giving something new, although nothing's new, to be honest. You know what I'm saying?
No, then I wouldn't even. It's just authentic. That's how it rings. That's how it. That's because new implies it will be old.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and it's
true.
always fresh.
Yeah, it is.
Having listened to lots of your videos over a period, a long period of time that you've recorded them. So, wow.
Well, I love, just talking about this, like, and it's poetry. It's yeah, it's art. It's a masterpiece, what this is. And I'm trying to catch up, trying to paint a masterpiece with my limitations, but it comes authentically, because there's no trying to be.
You can articulate it in a way like I couldn't string half a sentence together about it.
Oh,
That's
no.
what I mean. The concepts is like, I know them, but I can't talk about them. But the fact that you can talk about them and you talk.
Oh, thank you.
Like I said to you, you distill it.
Yeah,
into those very simple. When you talked about the words, where words come, the words aren't real. So all thoughts are words. Therefore, and then you talked about feelings. I was like, yeah, that's right. All feelings are thoughts, physical thoughts that come from a word. It's like, oh, right. Gee, well, this is
well, the audience for this is no one, but in the illusion, the audience is as if I'm speaking to that character, Emerson, that was suffering. And what was the barriers of that seeker? Because I was the most stubborn seeker that I know, right? It's just stubbornness, right? Because it kept on having this beautiful clarity, and it would try to figure out what that clarity was. Until it gets really, really kind of like, if you go really, really directly, right, all that character had we're just basically just words and belief systems and assumptions. Really words. And if I go into the words, right? If you, yeah, even when someone says that, well, it's just not the words, Emerson. I'm like, what is it then?
And in trying to maintain consistently a experience of bliss or whatever, you deny what's happening now, which is kind of like a slap in the face to what's happening now. Does that make any sense?
It does. Yeah. When you
It's like,
believe, when you assume, when you think, when you the you denies what is happening. What is this flow, this infinite flow of isness, this ineffable. You're fucking with it, basically.
yeah,
For lack of a
it's
better
pretty,
term, right? You're fucking with it, right? It's
yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with fucking with it, right? But you think that you are doing it. You think that it has something to do with you. But you is just a part of it. It's not just you. You know what I'm saying? But it's so funny, right? Because we can't seem, the characters can't seem to deconstruct from that idea that has nothing to do with them.
Oh, I'm just getting a rush of like, oh, that relaxation. Just same as I was talking about. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like
Oh,
that
almost
sweet
fell off like molasses.
Yeah, it's that sweet surrender when I got basically beaten into submission, I'm like, and there was just this sweet surrender. I'm like, you mean I don't have to do anything?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that I can do. Can I do something? No, it's okay. Relax. It's all right. That. And I'm like, really? Can I be better? Can I do something? Can I be worthy? Right? Is there anything that I can do to keep this? No. It's always here, right? It's always here. And then you're like, you mean that there's nothing that I can do? You don't have to do anything at all. And then when there's this swift seeing that, oh my goodness, I'm not even here. I'm not even real. I'm not even relevant. I have nothing to do with this. And then you're like, okay, all right.
Oh my God, irrelevant. It's like the worst thing you can say to someone, really.
Yeah, especially when someone's been put on a pedestal, right?
Yeah.
And like even when I was a little kid, right? Because I'm the oldest kid, right? So it's always, like the seeming conditioning of the character is to be relevant, to be relevant, to be relevant. And when it saw that it's not relevant, and I was like, okay, I kind of know this, but I guess, yeah, I'll stop, get away, I'll get away from it, right? And then realize that you don't even have a choice. You're not even there. So there's nothing that you can do or not do. It's so irrelevant that it doesn't even mean taking yourself away from it because there's no you to take away from it. And then it was just this relaxation. I'm like, oh, wow, what a dream that was. Yeah, I know. Well, Trace,
I'm
thank you
actually
so much.
really physically in my body.
What's that?
I'm feeling it in my body. It's
Yeah.
relaxation. Very nice.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Beautiful. It's yeah, I had those too. I was like, I was so stubborn that I was stunned for a whole month and I could not do anything or speak because I was fighting this for a long, long time, right? I'm like, what? It has nothing to do with me. What, really? And that
Goodness,
relaxation.
how did
Yeah,
an hour go? That just was like
I know. I I have another meeting coming up, but I'm gonna stop the recording here. Well, thank you so much.